So lately, there's been an unprecedented hype or deno in the developers community, and today we're going to take a look at what it is. So version 1.0 has been released a few days ago, and we're going to see what it is and what are the major differences with Node.js. We're going to see if you should switch to deno and if you should learn it or not. So beginning with the basics, what is deno or deno? I don't know. There's already a major disagreement among the developers community or its pronunciation. Some pronounce it as deno, others pronounce it as deno. But whatever it is a secure runtime for JavaScript and TypeScript. So notice the difference, the word secure and TypeScript. So a runtime for JavaScript is what Node is, so deno is supposed to be a secure version of Node.js that also has an out-of-the-box support for TypeScript. And we're going to see major differences later. So it's built in Rust, and it also uses the same JavaScript V8 engine. So the major differences, beginning with permissions, which is one of the primary reasons behind Project Deno by the same guy, Mr. Ryan Dahl, who is also behind Node.js. So by default, your Node.js scripts has all permissions on your machine. It can interact with the network, it can write to your local files, it can read from your local files, etc., which is dangerous because you most of the time will rely on third-party modules and packages that you download from npm. So you are on the mercy of the package maintainers, and you assume that they don't do anything bad because technically a package that you download from anywhere that you use, a node package, can technically interact with your local files on your computer and your network and do anything it wants. Node will not stop it. So that has been changed with deno. By default, a deno script cannot interact with the network. It cannot interact with your files. No read and write permissions at all. No nothing. You will have to specifically provide each set of permissions to run a deno script. So that is a good major step forward in terms of security. Additionally, importing of modules. Well, that has been changed. Node.js uses the common JS standards to import modules. That is, you require something, but in deno that has changed. Deno uses ES syntax, which might look familiar to you if you have ever used something like in the ES world, like React, for example. And next, NPM versus standard library and third-party hostings. So Node.js uses NPM, a central repository for all packages and modules that you need. But in deno, there is no support for NPM, at least yet. It has its own thing that they call the standard library, which is a collection of audited modules and packages that the deno maintainers maintain. And there is also a support for third-party hostings. What third-party hostings means is that you could literally host your module anywhere. You could host it in a CDN, you could host it on your S3 bucket, you could host it on some cloud storage, you could host it on GitHub and GitLab, anywhere, because deno will now allow you to import modules from URLs. All right, so the next one is implicit versus explicit module types. This is again regarding the imports. In Node.js, it infers the file type for you. You don't need to specifically specify what is typed the file, like .js extension is not required. And it even also allows you to omit the word index altogether. For example, if you would like to import something from the index file in a directory, you can simply type in name of the directory inside of course inside the required common JS syntax, and you don't need to even specify the word index or its extension like .js or .ts or .tsx or whatever. But that has been now changed in deno. In deno, you have to specify the file extension as well. If it's ts.tsx or .js, whatever it is, you have to specify it. And you also have to specify the index file. You cannot omit it. So yeah, of course, the theory behind this logic, you can say, is to avoid ambiguity. So there's TypeScript support. That is a great thing. I mean, there's a built-in compiler, which we're going to discuss next. So there's an out-of-the-box support for TypeScript, which means that you don't need any external compiler or something in order to be able to run TypeScript. Deno has built-in test runners, code formatters, bundler, and compiler. Compiler is the TypeScript compiler. It compiles your TypeScript for you at runtime. I mean, whenever you try to bundle something. And again, it has a bundler of its own. You don't need to use Webpack, maybe Babel, maybe Browserify or something like that. And the rationale behind this theory is to avoid inconsistency, because we have seen sometimes, yeah, it leads to inconsistencies when two developers of the same team, maybe, or two teams of the same project use different bundlers, then there's sometimes it leads to problems and inconsistencies. So to avoid that, Deno comes with its own bundler, where you do bundler and then you specify what you want to bundle, and then you specify the name of the output file. And by default, the output file is going to be stored in the bin folder in your project directory. So that's cool. Yeah, so it also has a code formatter, which is another cool feature. So you can, from your command line, run the code formatter of Deno, and you can specify name of the file, one or multiple files, and it will format that code for you into I don't know whatever the default format is. And also, I'm not sure if you can modify or change that formatter's default format. I'm sure you could do that. If not now, at least, then you would definitely be able to do that in the future. So it also has a test runner, which is another great thing. It has a built-in test runner, and not just a test runner, also a standard module. Again, remember, it has a standard library where it keeps an audited setup modules. So from those audited setup modules, there's a tester module, which provides you many useful assertions right out of the box. And that is a great thing. That is a really useful feature, and I believe that's going to improve development experience, and I believe that's going to also improve the development time. So those were actually the major differences. That's it. There's not really any other major thing that is different between Node and Deno. Of course, there are many other small differences, but that's not something that we need to look at in a single video that is supposed to be a simple introduction. So let's now talk about whether you switch to your existing projects from Node to Deno. Well, take a look at this. No support for NPM. There's a long time. I mean, like, perhaps not long, but at least quite long time before Deno has a solution for resolving the issue of NPM. What it means is that by default, you cannot import a module from NPM. That's not a solution. That's not you cannot do that. As a developer, you have to figure your own way out. Like, for example, Deno has support for your self-hosted modules. So what you would do is you would get a module from NPM, and then you would go ahead and host it on your own, on your GitHub, on your GitLab, or your cloud storage, and then you would use it from there. Of course, you can't simply use it just like that. You will also have to run your Deno bundler to bundle it, and then you'll be able to import it inside your Deno files, and you'll be able to use it. So you see, there's a lot of friction, like a huge friction right now, and it simply just cannot be avoided, because JavaScript development without NPM is, I believe, simply impossible at the moment. So unless there is support for NPM, or at least a robust solution, because as a developer, I believe that you shouldn't be, worrying about figuring out your own ways to be able to use useful modules and pieces of code out there. So it has to be standardized, and unless that's done, I think it's not wise to switch from Node to Deno yet. And it's not fully ready for production as well. It has many unstable features, which if you want to take a look, you could go to the deno.land, to their official page, and you can go ahead and see what features at the moment are considered unstable and hence not good for production use. And also the standard modules, the audited standard modules are not stable. So many of the audited standard modules are also unstable at this point. So for these reasons, it's absolutely not advised to use Deno in a production environment yet. So that should summarize it for you. So the next question is, should you learn Deno or not? And I believe yes, the learning curve will be very minimal for JavaScript developers. If you are familiar with Node.js, with React, with anything JavaScript, I think it's going to be very easy for you to adopt Deno. So for that reason, it's a new cool thing, and it's going to be the next big thing, I believe, given the hype that it has already at the beginning. And I believe it's worth learning, and also it's definitely going to coexist with Node.js. I doubt that it will override Node.js, like come as a successor to Node.js, and that Node.js will be like kind of deprecated or left alone. That probably will not happen, but it definitely will coexist with Node.js. That is my hunch. And for these reasons, I believe yes, it's definitely worth learning, and you should take a look at it. So that's it. That's about Deno. I hope you've learned something from it. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments and I'll reach out to you.